Welcome to my tutorial on music notation, and I just love this. It takes me back to teaching piano in high school. This chapter is going to cover basic music notation principles that'll help you understand how to use some of the tempo, score editor, and MIDI editor features of your digital audio software. Having a basic understanding of music notation will improve your ability to work with MIDI too. Because of the way MIDI is organized and managed in your digital audio workstation, it draws from the principles of music notation. These 5 lines you see here, grouped together, are called a staff. They represent a frequency of sound. The higher up on the staff, the higher the pitch of the note, and vice versa. The lower down, the lower the pitch. Staves divide music up into bars. Each bar gets subdivided into beats. The time signature usually appears at the beginning of the song. The top number tells us how many beats in the bar. The bottom tells us what kind of note gets 1 beat. In a 4/4 bar, there's 4 beats, and each beat is a quarter note. 4/4 is the main time signature for most Western music like rock and roll, blues, and jazz. On these staves here, you see many different types of notes and many different symbols, both for marking the notes and for marking the dynamics. I'm going to tell you how these work in just a moment. Let's take a look at a list of note types and their values. Each note below has half the value of the note on top. So it works like this. 1 bar can contain 1 whole note, 2 half notes, 4 quarter notes, 8 eighth notes, 16 16th notes, or 32 32nd notes. But you might be wondering, what about notes with an odd number of beats? Well, notes with an odd number of beats can be written in 2 ways, either with a dot, as you see on the left, or with a tie. Here on the left, this half note has a dot next to it. That adds 50% of the value to the note. Without the dot, the half note is worth 2 beats. And with the dot, it's worth 3 beats. On the right, the line between notes is called a tie, and it links these 2 notes together for a value of 3 beats. When the notes are tied together, you don't play the second note, only the first note. But you hold the first note down for the value of the second note too. So basically, you'd play this note for 2 plus 1 beats, making 3 beats all together. Now let's take a look at rests. They follow the same mathematical logic as notes, but instead of representing sounds, they represent silence or the absence of sound. Here's a chart of rests. You see that the nomenclature is the same: whole rest, half rest, quarter rest, eighth rest, 16th rest, and 32nd rest. 1 bar can have 1 whole rest, 2 half rests, 4 quarter rests, 8 eighth rests, 16 16th rests, and 32 32nd rests. In my 1 bar of 4/4 time, I have 4 quarter rests, and here I have 2 half rests. Rests can be lengthened with dots or ties, just like notes. Both of these rests equal 3 beats here. On the left, the half rest plus the dot makes this rest worth 3 beats. On the right, the half rest plus the tied quarter rest makes this rest 3 beats long also. Now let's talk about note pitch. The higher or lower a note appears on a staff, the higher or lower the pitch. The clef on the left specifies the musical range. Most commonly, you'll see the treble or higher clef and the bass or lower clef. Piano music is written in both clefs. Guitar and violin are written in the treble clef. A few more words about notes. The relationships between notes can be measured in whole steps and half steps, or whole tones and semitones. So, the step between C and D is a whole step. Between C and C sharp is a half step. E to F and B to C are also half steps, but B flat to C is a whole step or a whole tone. E to F sharp is also a whole tone. Remember, a whole tone is 2 half tones or semitones. If you count from C forward, the black key is a sharp. C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and back to C. The keys that we called sharp a moment ago can also be called flats if you count backwards from C. So C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, and down to C again. The sharp symbol is the pound or hatch symbol, and the flat symbol is like a little B. Here's the sharp symbol, the flat symbol, and another symbol called the natural symbol. A sharp beside a note means you play a semitone higher, usually the black key up. A flat symbol beside a note means you play a semitone lower, usually the black key down. The natural symbol cancels a previous sharp or flat sign. A bar line cancels all these signs. The sharp, flat, and natural symbols, when they appear in the bar, are called accidentals, and they are canceled out by the bar line, unless they appear in what's called the key signature. The key signature appears at the beginning of every staff, after the clef, and before the time signature. Up here, I've got an F sharp and a C sharp in the treble clef. This tells me that I'm in the key of D. But it's not only the F on this line or the C in this space that's affected, it's all the Fs and the Cs in the whole song. So again, this is F sharp and C sharp in the key signature, which make all of the Fs and Cs in the song sharp. So basically, instead of playing the white keys F and C, I play the black key up from both F and C. In this bar, I play C sharp, another C sharp, a third C sharp, and then the final note in the bar is C natural, or just a regular C. Now let's take a look at the bass staff underneath. I have a B flat and an E flat in the key signature, and this tells me that I'm in the key of B flat. I could also be in the key of G minor, but that's another story. Relative minors and majors will share a key signature. So here, instead of playing B, I play the black key beneath the B, except for the last B, which is played as a B natural, or just the regular white key, since it has a natural sign in front of it. A few words now about dynamics and accent markings. This line here is a tenuto mark. You give this note a little more deliberate pressure. It means held in Italian. This dot indicates staccato, a brief and sharp attack, short and hoppy, as I used to tell my piano students. Accents direct you to play a note with more heavily accented tone. Marcado is both held and accent, so it's got the tenuto symbol and the accent. When you see a slur between two different notes, you play legato, that is, you tie the two notes together. There shouldn't be any break in the sound. The squiggle here is called a glissando. It instructs you to slide in pitch from one note to the next. You pull a Liberace basically and just slide your hand down the keys. You see the P and F here, they stand for piano and forte, which in Italian means soft and loud, respectively. FF is fortissimo, and it means very loud. PP is pianissimo. It means very quiet. MP and MF mean medium soft and medium loud. These long arrows are crescendo and decrescendo. So when you crescendo, you get louder, and when you decrescendo, you get quieter. In these two bars, I would start out piano or quietly, I would get louder, and then the first note of the second bar I'd play very loudly at fortissimo, and then decrescendo so that the last note, the C, is played piano or quietly. This concludes our introduction to music notation. There's a lot of info here, so make sure you listen to this segment a few times if you're new to music notation, but you need to understand it to get some of your work done.